Sometimes an election result just catches you off guard. Romania's recent presidential runoff definitely did that. We sort of expected this nationalist surge, but instead, Nicușor Dan came out on top.
Exactly. He was the one pushing for closer ties with Europe, winning against George Simion, who leads the far-right AUR party.
And we've got this really interesting article that looks into why it happened this way.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack that article, understand the key reasons behind the result, the different feelings it stirred up, and, what it might mean for Romania and maybe even wider Europe, all based on what this report tells us.
Okay, let's get into the numbers. Dan pulled in 53.6%, and this was the second round, the runoff.
Right. And it's significant because he was up against Simion, whose party, AUR, the article calls them far-right nationalists.
Yeah.
They really seem to have momentum.
Yeah, the article suggests that momentum came partly from public anger about last year's election being annulled. There were these reports of Russian interference, apparently quite credible according to the source.
And the reactions, totally different depending on who you ask. The article describes Dan supporters as feeling, well, relieved, elated even.
There are quotes, right? Someone said it was a win for a community of Romanians who want a profound change.
Exactly. And another saying they were genuinely worried about Simion, that the pro-European path is the only option, for a better future, a more honest Romania for their kids.
That's quite powerful language.
Yeah.
But then you flip it, and Simion supporters disappointed.
The piece mentions some even preferred Kalin Georgescu. He's another nationalist figure, remember? His earlier win got thrown out because of alleged fraud.
Ah, right. So it shows real divisions there. What about the campaigns? They must have been pretty different.
Oh, definitely. Dan was all about fighting corruption, which, as the article kind of implies, is a long-running thing in Romania, and also building stronger ties with Ukraine. Very important neighbor.
Right. And Simion?
He was much more critical of the EU, even talked about cutting aid to Kyiv.
Wow. And the article mentions Dan's supporters were chanting, "Russia, don't forget, Romania isn't yours." That really puts the geopolitics front and center.
It really does. Now, here's something fascinating. The article highlights the diaspora vote.
Ah, yes, the Romanians living abroad. What did it say?
Well, Simion actually got huge support from Romanians in Western Europe, like over 2/3 in places like Italy, Germany, Spain, the UK.
Really? That's massive. How did Dan win then?
Strong domestic performance. And interestingly, he crushed it in Moldova, got 87% there.
That's a stark contrast. What do you think that tells us? Maybe Romanians abroad have different priorities, economics in their host countries versus maybe corruption back home.
That's a really good question, and the article sort of leaves hanging. It doesn't explicitly say, but it makes you wonder.
Okay, what about Simion's reaction? He didn't just accept it immediately, did he?
No, he initially claimed victory, apparently.